In the early 1970s, college student Linda Corporal came up with the theory that the strange behavior exhibited by the 8 young women who started the accusations of the witchcraft in Salem in February of 1692 was the result of ergot consumption. She continued her education with her PhD and gained notoriety when an article she wrote on the subject was published in Science magazine. She investigated the link between the mass hysteria of the Salem witch trials and the hallucinogenic effect of ergot of rye. Her research uncovered that the weather conditions needed for ergot to thrive were present in the 1691 rye crop. The harvest of 1691 would have been baked and eaten in the winter of 1692, further supporting her theory that the witchcraft hysteria was caused by convulsive ergotism. She found the weather was not only warm and damp, but she reported that most of the accusers lived on the west side of the town, which was chronically marshy. The next growing season was recorded to be dry. No ergot, no hallucinations. Lo and behold, there were no deaths due to burning at the stake. Rye was not cultivated for food until the Middle Ages. It got its start as a cultivated crop around the 5th century in what is now Eastern Europe and Western Russia. Prior to this time, rye was considered a weed in wheat fields and would overtake abandoned farmland without human intervention. The ease of which rye could be grown made it an affordable grain for the lower classes of society. The role ergot might have played in the Salem witch trials is not the first time in recorded history that people unknowingly turned on, tuned in, and dropped out with the hallucinating effects of ergot. The physical and neurological effects of ergot were not confirmed until the 1850s. Up until this relatively modern point, ergot was not connected to these physical and behavioral oddities. As record-keeping became commonplace around 900 AD in what is now present-day France and Germany, several severe epidemics of ergot were recorded. France was the epicenter of these epidemics and occurred almost every 10 years. The first recorded outbreak of ergotism was in 857 AD in the Rhine Valley of Germany. This outbreak was the gangrenous kind. Rotting limbs outnumbered the bad trips. It was at this time that ergot poisoning became known as holy fire. Fire because your extremities burned and crawled with pain until they fell off. Holy because it was much easier to understand that the almighty God of your Christian faith was punishing you rather than a lowly fungus. In 944 AD, 40,000 people died in France due to ergot. In 1039, yet another epidemic of ergot swept through France. During this particular outbreak, a hospital was erected in order to care and separate the large number of victims from the rest of the population. A French nobleman, Gaston de Volière, dedicated the hospital he funded to St. Anthony. Eventually, monks started the Order of St. Anthony, and over 370 hospitals were built to care for the overwhelming number of ergot victims. As a result, ergot became known as St. Anthony's fire. Again, the cause of ergotism was yet to be discovered. The recovering victims benefited from their change in diet. Many left the countryside where ergot was unknowingly consumed. The first connection between ergot symptoms and rye was made in 1670 by French physician Dr. Thulier, but his observations were largely ignored. He recognized that the majority of cases were poor rural peasants who farmed. He traveled the countryside in order to help the sick and discover the true origins of St. Anthony's fire.
It has been a rainy summer this growing season. Indeed. I rejoice that it's finally done. It's very difficult to farm in such a marshy land.
I really did believe it would ruin the rye, but with God's grace, this season has been a plentiful one indeed.
What's important is we have done it. What's here? Plan. It looketh a bit darker. What is that?
How now? It seems like a different color. Brown, perhaps?
It looketh purple to me.
Shouldn't we do anything about this? I have never seen anything like this before on these crops.
Well, besides the color, it looks relatively healthy.
'Tis. You are right. Well, let's get to harvesting this rye here. really outdone yourself this time. This bread is delicious.
Tis!
Girls, thou art so sweet. You know Farmer Proctor and Farmer Ellis harvest the freshest crops in Salem.
Oh, it's so true.
Now eat, eat, eat. Do hurry because you must churn up the butter with your Aunt Millicent this evening.
Yes, Mother.
Now I have to go finish sewing this dress for Miss Joseph's new baby. Hurry, hurry.
This is disgusting.
Tis, I feel it.
I too feel ill. I cannot fathom to eat one more bite.
But what will Mother say?
We hath eaten enough to get by until the breakfast. Let us throw the rest in the hearth.
Tis. Oh, I feel as though I cannot move. My skin itches all over.
Abigail, fetch your dear sister a wet cloth for her forehead and bring some water over too.
Yes, Mother.
Where art I?
Take it this cup, Elizabeth, so you can drink some water.
I cannot feel with my arm.
Oh, my dear. I will go and fetch us Dr. James at once.
I too feel weak. Ugh.
Oh, sister, where art thou?
What? I swear it, Pastor Edwards. Millicent Williams is a witch.
I too hath have seen her broom, casting wills, spells on my sister.
Young pilgrims, art thou sure of
Yes!
Hey Tom, it's Bob from the office down the hall. It's good to see you, buddy. How have you been? Things have been okay for me, except that I'm a zombie now. I really wish you'd let us in. I think I speak for all of us when I say I understand why you folks might hesitate to submit to our demand. But here's an FYI, you're all gonna die screaming, all we wanna do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable, I mean no one's gonna eat your eyes. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're at an impasse here, maybe we should compromise. If you open up the door, we'll all come inside.